We just announced our exploration results, the majority of them from last year, and we just rounded out that stepping out on a discovery that we had that we're following up on and testing some other key target areas, and one of which is a brand new target area that's very shallow to surface on some new ground that we acquired at the extension of our Pine Bay camp area. And with that being said, we intersected some very favorable uh, zinc mineralization.
Max Porterfield, Callinex. How's it going?
Going great. How are you doing today?
Doing good. So let's start out with news first. Do you have some news that you want to share? And then we'll still go to the company, what the company's all about.
Yeah, no, certainly. We just announced our exploration results, the majority of them from last year, and we just rounded out that stepping out on a discovery that we had that we're following up on and testing some other key target areas, and one of which is a brand new target area that's very shallow to surface on some new ground that we acquired at the extension of our Pine Bay camp area. And with that being said, we intersected some very favorable uh, zinc mineralization. It's hosted obviously in sphalerite. That mineralization is in red and brown in color, which tells us it's potentially proximal, very close to a discharge site. And a discharge site could in turn host a VMS deposit nearby, which is what we're searched for. So again, this is something we've seen historically when we've drilled into other areas of the property and subsequently had success. And we're excited to get into a new area that's very shallow, particularly in a mining camp that's been around for quite some time. So again, we're excited to get into this new target area called Blueberry and expand our exploration footprint to test other target areas that are very shallow that we haven't had an opportunity to share with our shareholders or the investor community at large, for that matter, because of a back end right we were working on terminating for a while as well.
Excellent. Well, congratulations to you, Max. Congratulations to Callinex and all the shareholders here. So let's unpack that a little bit. What exactly does that mean to people that are want exposure to mining, want exposure to copper? But what does that mean as far as the bottom line, the cost, and moving the company and the stock price, the share price forward?
Yeah, bigger picture, we've been targeting high grade copper rich VMS deposits, and these deposits occur in clusters, and they're also polymetallic. So aside from high grade copper, which our discoveries are known for at Pine Bay, they also carry gold, silver, and zinc as byproduct. And so, when we drill into a new target area, this isn't a kind of a one shot you're done. It's a vectoring approach. And so when you drill into a new area, you obviously want to see early indications of potential success, which was what we're seeing here with the sphalerite which is hosting zinc, the zinc bearing mineral, and just kind of quantifying what that means in terms of past success. We encountered a more narrow interval of a similar situation at a much deeper depth historically. And then subsequently that led us eventually to the Rainbow deposit, which is our most advanced deposit that we now have a 43-101 resource on. And we've advanced now with engineering as well as about to start the permitting process for that in a nearby sister deposit called the Pine Bay deposit, for which the camp gets its name.
Awesome. Okay, so let's take a step back then here. Again, congratulations to you guys. It sounds like you guys hit it out of the park for the company here and the shareholders. But what I want to do is now people that are not familiar with the company, give me a 30,000-foot view on everything about Callinex. What are you guys trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And what are you mining?
Yeah, so we're an exploration company. So in the mining business, you have exploration, you development, and production. And so we've been focused on the exploration, which I'd argue is the most exciting part of the business, because you go from nothing to something great through the discovery process. It's quite like a treasure hunt. And the company's been around since 1927 and always.
Let me interrupt you, which seems like you just did.
Well, we're the early stages. We have early stage indication of that.
Yeah.
We obviously need to see much larger accumulation of the material in wider widths and grades that are to come in the pending assay results. But again, it's an early indication of success that could potentially come and unfold near surface. So again, we've been focused on this area of the Flin Flon Greenstone Belt, which is located in northern Manitoba. It's had hosted 32 mines in counting. I like to say counting because I believe that our discoveries and as we grow our resource base are going to retrieve that in the future. With that being said, the camp in the immediate area, the town, Flin Flon, Manitoba, is sitting idle, the mill sitting idle with the flagship mine shutting down in July 2022. July 2022. So again, this is an area that's got a century of production, supportive of mining. It's idle. They've got the workforce. You've got the infrastructure in place. Our team's been credited with the discovery of numerous mines in the area, 3 of the 4 largest mines in the camp's history. And we've come together to look to replicate that success on an area of ground that we've consolidated over numerous years. And so our Pine Bay camp is truly a camp scale at over 10,000 hectares that we've consolidated. And we've been conducting exploration, which has led to numerous discoveries, the most advanced of which is our rainbow discovery that I mentioned earlier that we made in 2020. And then that culminated with a resource alongside with a historic deposit that's also 43101 compliant called the Pine Bay deposit. And so we're sitting just shy of 6 million tons of high grade copper, also carrying gold, silver, and zinc as byproducts to that across those two deposits. And now, as we've expanded, we're now going to continue to explore for other shallow discoveries that can be fast tracked at a much lower cost and be brought into the fold not too far behind Rainbow and Pine Bay to really increase our initial throughput and in longer term production profile. So again, very high grade discoveries in terms of our copper, north of 3% on the indicated category at our Rainbow deposit. And when you compare that on a global basis, the average mine graded copper around the world is less than 0.5%. So we're at a very, very high grade system that we're exploring, these VMS deposits. We have clean, low cost hydroelectric power on site, and we're just about a 25-minute drive from the community of Flin Flon. So again, we check a lot of boxes, and what we're looking to do as we march into the new year is advance Rainbow and Pine Bay with the permitting as we remain steadfast and focused on making new discoveries and testing, this new target area called the Blueberry that we announced initial results from today. And again, assays are pending and we do more work there, but that's a step in the right direction. And we're eager to get back to work at that and other targets that are going to be announced in the not too distant future.
Got it. Well, do you have an ETA when you said your essays are pending? Do you have an ETA when they'll be coming back?
Assay, the results on those are going to take, again, things have been delayed. So I would look at a month and a half. But I mean, again, expectations on that, what we've hit is an early indication. This isn't like the bonanza hole, so to speak, in terms of that. And we're not trying to lead that expectation. But certainly as you get into new areas, it takes a number of holes to make that discovery in any area. For example, when we drilled into the Rainbow target area initially in 2019, and then later in 2020, when we made that discovery, we drilled into that area, had early indications that were positive, like what we announced today. And then as we did further work, 2 holes later, we made our first discovery hole into Rainbow. So again, in terms of context, we're excited about, getting into the system and where we believe that we are within that system and that it's very close to surface and could yield near-term results as we look to vector into that area of the property moving forward. And then also testing other targets like Blueberry that we're going to also look to announce in the coming weeks.
Okay, so you should have a lot of news dripping through over the next several weeks, really throughout the summer, correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So talk to me a little bit about really, you have the infrastructure. It looks like as so far you have the assets in the ground, if you would. What does it take now to move everything forward as you are moving forward? Just really confirming the grade as well as the size. What's after that is what I'm trying to do is like, what should investors expect to
Yeah.
become?
Yes, certainly. So moving forward, at the entire camp area. I mean, there's a lot going on at 10,000 hectares, but again,
Right.
at Rainbow and Pine Bay, those are bona fide resources.
Yeah.
And what we're doing next is the advanced exploration permit. To get to the stage of submitting that permit, what we needed to do was a lot of the engineering work, as well as baseline studies to facilitate that. The AEP we're looking to receive back in as little as 6 months' time. It could take obviously longer as well. And that allows you to ramp down and take a bulk sample. As we then develop the project more and make other discoveries, which I'll talk about in terms of the exploration work, which is really the driver of this ship. That again de-risk the asset by getting these projects ready to move forward and turnkey come a production decision. After you receive the AEP, obviously you can ramp down to the deposit, take a bulk sample, and then eventually when you're ready, you can submit for your full-blown environmental license. Now, in addition to that, as we, kind of work that forward through the system and to get that approval, we're going to be keenly continued to focus. And I want to reiterate, we're an exploration company, and that's what's driving the predominant news flow on exploration at the Pine Bay camp on this newly expanded land package that we've consolidated this entire area on. This area, when you look back, was encumbered by a back-end right that was almost a quarter of a century in place. And through an acquisition that Tech made in 2006, they had held that back-end right, which really encumbered any exploration since that back-end right was put in place. And so again, it's, you kind of get a project that was frozen in time because it was encumbered. And through our relationship that we have with Tech, we welcome them now as a shareholder of the company. We've terminated that back-end provision. They have a small milestone payment in the future upon a construction decision. And then when you look at the exploration potential, and one example of that is what we're on at Blueberry. Because when you look at these mature mining camps, you would say the near surface discoveries that have been found, or the low hanging fruit, which is one of the reasons Blueberry gets its name among many others, is what you'd say. But that's far from the truth and what we have realized on the exploration to the north, and that ground that we've now consolidated. But we weren't allowed to talk about it because of that back-end provision. So this is coming out as a bit of a surprise, and now we're going to be able to unlay these targets. But the reality is, the target at Blueberry is really bread and butter, which you textbooks want to target when you're coming into a new area that you think is prospective for VMS deposits in base metals exploration. Yet we're doing so in a camp that is a bona fide district. There's it's not just a camp, it's made up of 3 camps. I look at the Flin Flon camp that's hosted that 90 million tons of ore being produced, the Pine Bay camp, which is the emerging camp that we control and consolidate the majority of. And then you also have the Snow Lake camp where Hudbay is now operating Lawler. So we're in this area that's very robust. But when you look at the modern day airborne VTEM data, there's a number of very exciting targets that fit within our exploration model and overall regional thesis. And when you look at them, they haven't been tested at all, or if they have been tested, you're looking within the first 50 meters of surface. And didn't have any follow-up work with borehole EM, which is the next step you have to take after you test a hole in your first target area. You go in with one hole and then use additional tools, geochemistry, obviously the geology, and then geophysics to continue aiding to getting into the heart of that system, which is what you're then looking forward would hopefully sitting there would be, a high grade VMS deposit.
Got it. Okay, so it seems like there's plenty of opportunity to get even more, to confirm what you do have, but also you can get more and show that you have more that would make you very attractive to, dare I say, to be acquired.
Yeah, a new discovery near surface drives new scale overall for the project's economics.
Yeah.
Because you go from having Rainbow and Pine Bay as ramp accessible deposits in a production scenario to having another second, third, fourth. I think we obviously looking to be optimistically very successful in our exploration endeavors, and then that grows your production throughput not only initially but also for life of mine.
Yeah, no, well said. Another thing that looks attractive is just that you have all of the infrastructure already built around you, and you have, yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that, and then talk to me a little bit about working within the jurisdiction with Manitoba, how the challenges or how, I guess, easy, for lack of a better word, is it getting your stuff done and permitted?
I mean, I think everywhere has its own challenges, and but I think when you need to look at those challenges and you look at jurisdictions as a whole, you've got to weigh those challenges. And I think with that being said, Manitoba is a wonderful place to be. I love Manitoba. I think it's like one day maybe they'll give you an honorary Manitoban citizenship or some sort. But again, I'd say like my second hometown is Flin Flon, Manitoba. To that regard, I've always had a real tie to that community as well as the rest of our team. So in terms of working in this jurisdiction, very, very supportive of mining. Again, there's been 32 mines in the area. In terms of local infrastructure, as I mentioned, you've got a rich history there. You have, again, 777 mine that shut down in July 2022. That shut down and lost 785 direct jobs for that community of just over 5,000 people. So you have that infrastructure that's on care and maintenance by Hudbay, and they're looking to utilize that in more ways than one. They're still evaluating that as that infrastructure is on care and maintenance. In addition to that, in Saskatchewan, because we sit on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border, you have Foran Mining, which is really a cave within itself, a more advanced version of Pine Bay. And they've been very successful, and they're in the midst of building out and constructing their mine there, which will be a mill be up and operating as well. And then further to the east of us, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, you have the Snow Lake Camp within the Flin Flon Greenstone Belt. And that's where Hudbay is operating the Lawler mine and two mills. There's the Stall Mill and the Britannia Mill, with Britannia Mill focusing on gold. Again, there's a very rich pedigree of gold in the Flin Flon area. Manitoba benefits from clean, low-cost hydroelectric power. And again, a rule of law that's established for mining in a path to getting permits, which again, no matter where you are in the world, can be very timely. But we've got a long-standing relationship with the policymakers, and we've been in touch with them predating discovery, from the first discovery hole of Rainbow as we've drilled it out, and even leading into the AEP process. So we've also received permits on our newly expanded land package to the north. The company's received numerous grants from a fund called the Manitoba Mineral Development Fund that's in place to revitalize existing infrastructure in northern Manitoba. So that's a long-winded way for me to say I love Manitoba. I love the jurisdiction. I love the pedigree. I love the people of Manitoba and the support that we receive throughout the exploration process. As we have been very forward-looking on exploration for base metals, because base metals hasn't always been in vogue. A lot of time in exploration, it's all about what is the hottest commodity in any given moment. And that's certainly not been the case for base metals, particularly copper, in the past. But again, we're having the revenge of the miners, as Robert Friedland would say, and certainly copper as well as gold are going to stand to benefit and get that light and spotlight it does deserve. We do have a gold target that we're following up on potentially this year, potentially very soon. That's located it's just a mention in passing, 20 kilometers away from our Pine Bay camp. And there's actually a historic mine called the Dominion Gold Mine that was operated from 1937 to 1939. Very high grade gold and silver. You look at historic drill intercepts, you're looking from 0.15 to half an ounce gold through some significant intervals. And when they operated it, you got to keep in context, you were talking about $35 an ounce gold at the time, and a lot of different metrics. And so their expectation of exploration success, they would mine it at 100-meter intervals, and then you do a little exploration below that in sequentially. And they shut that down in 1939 at the 200-meter level. And believe it or not, since 1939, no exploration has ever been conducted below the Old Dominion mine, which is a very
Wow.
shallow opportunity of high grade. But again, our focus is on these VMS at the Pine Bay camp proper. But when you have an opportunity like that, we are an exploration company, and the lure of gold is always there, and it would naturally fit within that. If you look at in kind of that same theme, Rob McEwen, obviously very well respected entrepreneur in mining, is backing another discovery or another deposit called the Tartan deposit, where they've actually done that same thing. Where there's an old mine not too far away from Pine Bay uh, that they've gone down and had great success continuing it down the plunge line at depth, and that's kind of a lookalike to that opportunity.
Yeah. I was going to say, you said something how much you love Manitoba, and I'm sure that's true. But what you're telling me is, and what really matters is how much does Manitoba love you? And it seems like it's very mutual that they want you there and they want
Well,
you
I
back.
mean, I don't like to love things that don't love back. A one-sided relationship. But Manitoba's been good to us in more ways than one, particularly with the drill bit, the resource base that we're building there, and again the pedigree, which is why that infrastructure is in place. That's what's driven that. But the reality is that there's been other things that have encumbered those opportunities from being realized, which some of which we've discussed today. And so the idea and mindset that near surface discoveries are long gone in Manitoba, in this area, because it's a mature area, it couldn't be farther from the truth. And I think that we're going to replicate that success, obviously more, potentially more times than one, as we look to expand our exploration footprint to the newly consolidated land package to the north.
Got it. And also, just on a note about copper, I actually got a name drop here, and this is not an endorsement by any means, but I had Lobo Tigra on yesterday, actually, and that is his number one metal for 25 is copper. It's his number one commodity. I would have to agree with him. I'm very, very bullish on copper. And again, this is not an endorsement, and neither did Callinex. I'm not a shareholder, nor did they pay for this interview. So, Max, let's wrap it up, land the plane. Where are you guys traded on? What's your website if investors are interested in learning more about you?
Yeah, to wrap it up, I mean, we're a very tight capital structure company, just 19
Yeah,
million
please
shares
tell us about
outstanding.
that. Tell us about that.
No debt on the balance sheet. I'm a very large shareholder myself. I own roughly 5%. Uh,
Okay.
and so again, I put my money where my mouth is. I've been a proponent of what we're onto in more in all facets. In terms of where you can become shareholders alongside myself and the rest of our shareholder base and our team, you can do so by buying our shares on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the ticker CNX. And for those residing in the United States, we can be found on the web at Callinex.ca. That's CALLINEX.ca. We trade on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the ticker CNX, and on the OTCQX under the ticker CLXX. Sorry, CLLXF.
Thank you.